good afternoon everyone. So today I will be presenting my seminar on the topic then biomechanics, its functional adaptation across human evolution. Beginning with the introduction. So the mouth is a machine and teeth are its tools. It is shaped by time, use and necessity. So dental biomechanics is the study of how physical forces influence the form and function of the teeth and the masticatory system. So in Paleoanthropology, teeth are not just markers of identity, they are structural archives of evolutionary adaptations. So this seminar will explore on how teeth adapted biomechanically across the evolution in response to the dietary shifts, the tool usage and craniofacial changes. So it draws on cutting-edge research in finite element analysis, occlusion wear patterns, experimental chewing and evolutionary modeling to examine the interplay between function and morphology. So this approach will integrate anthropology, evolutionary biology, biomechanics and clinical dentistry. So beginning with the foundations of dental biomechanics, we have 5 concepts. So starting with the key biomechanical concepts, we have 6 concepts, beginning with occlusion forces, which may either be vertical, that is the compressive, and lateral shear force, or horizontal, which is tensile. And the enamel, it resists compression, and the dentin supports the tensile and the shear loads. So the elastic modulus, it is a gradient that buffers the masticatory stress. There is a stress-strain relationship which explains the crack initiation, fatigue and failure of the tooth structure. So the fracture resistance in mechanics, it is nothing but teeth as toughened like composites. The dental fatigue are the micro cracks that evolve under repetitive cycles of mastication. Secondly, we have the some concepts related to the functional morphology of the tooth. Initially, we have cusp arrangements which distribute loads across the occlusal surfaces. We have curved multi-root systems which resist the torque and the lateral displacement forces. Age-related pulp chamber remodeling, it adjusts the internal stress zones which are seen in the teeth. And crown height and cusp inclination, it corresponds to the foot type abrasiveness. And enamel thickness, it correlates with peak stress region that is seen in molar basis. Molar basis is nothing but the forces which are seen in the teeth. Third, we have tooth wear and functional adaptation. So attrition versus abrasion. Attrition is nothing but tooth-to-tooth contact, and abrasion is which is caused due to dietary grit or the fiber which is seen in the food. And the compensatory eruption maintains occlusal height with wear, and enamel microcracks, they act as energy dampeners. And the functional differentiation is that the anterior teeth slice and the posterior teeth grind, that we all know. And in pertaining to craniomandibular integration, the symphysial reinforcement, it counteracts with the midline jaw stress, and the zygomatic or the sagittal crest, it reflects the muscle attachment and the magnitudes. TMJ modeling tracks occlusion load variance with dietatious which are seen throughout evolution. And craniocervical integration, it influences the mandibular kinematics, how the mandibular moves and so on. And finally, we have biomechanical modeling insights, where the finite element analysis, it reveals the peak stress areas under the masticatory simulation. And tribology, it evaluates enamels resistant to frictional wear. Cross-sectional geometry is a study, it is also modeling insight, which predicts the jaw stiffness and the failure resistance. Next, we have dynamic loading models that reflects the real chewing cycles of the masticatory system. So we have some researches which have been conducted regarding these, pertaining to these 3 concepts. So one was done by Benassi et al. In 2013, where FEM was used to compare the Neanderthal, this is the Homo sapien molars, under identical loads. And we have another study conducted by Ursig et al. In 2010, where the stress healing and insights of function in fossil hominins were studied. And another study by Macho and Shimizu et al. In 2019 said that the molar crown complexity, it correlates with the abrasive diet adaptation. Next we have study which was done in 2015, which says there is an integration of jaw biomechanics and feeding behavior in fossil primates. And then there's another study by Zubanik et al. In 2021, a very recent study, which had 3 simulations which link enamel topography and bite mechanics across all the species and the crustaceans. Moving on to the evolutionary trajectories in the function. So, starting with the early hominids, that is the Australopithecus species and the Anthropopithecus species, which existed approximately 4.2 to 1.2 million years ago. So they have massive proclined teeth with thick enamel. So it was thick due to tough plant material and underground storage organs, and they had enlarged zygomatic regions and sagittal crest suggested a very high bite force. Micromeres reveals variable diet despite some morphology. There are some notable case studies. There was a study done by Ungar et al. In 2004, which analyzed the dental microwear in the Australopithecus species and the Paranthropus species. It found that the Paranthropus it likely consumed softer food when compared to the other. So it was based solely on the robust morphology. Next, there was another study done in 2010, which demonstrated that the Paranthropus molars were structurally adapted to the high resistant bite forces, so especially in fallback food consumption. So there was an old study. So this was a study which pioneered the enamel thickness comparison in early hominids and modern primates, which supported the adaptive value of thick enamel for resisting hard object feeding. Moving on to Homo habilis to Homo erectus, approximately 2.4 to 2.3 million years ago. So they have a reduced molar size when compared to the previous species, comparatively thinner enamel. So this shift toward omnivory and meat processing behavior was seen in their era, and cultural innovations like they had tools and fire, which reduced the biomechanical loading, and there is increase in the incisor function. So the evidence was seen, and meat processing was also done during their time. Mandibular glacialization, it was observed in some of the fossil records. So there were some studies. So one of the studies by Lehman et al. It explored the impact of fire and cooking on the masticatory stress reduction. So it argued that thermal processing it enabled jaw glacialization towards this species. And there was another study conducted by Evans et al. They carried out a micro-CT study. Their analysis it revealed that trabecular bone patterns of Homo erectus jaws it was reduced because there were reduced masticatory related remodeling was seen correlating with the cultural innovations such as food slicing. So then we have archaea to modern human sapiens, that is current day humans, approximately 300,000 million years ago. So when compared to the previous ones, they started using fire cooking utensils, which diminished their functional demands. So increase of malnutrition and crowding post-agriculture, starting with agriculture was seen, and regional adaptations was also seen in the population. Thicker enamel in the Arctic groups were also noted. Biomechanics, it reflected a sedentary lifestyle and reduced dietary aggressiveness. And there was these are some of the notable studies, and Darwin et al. In 2021 combined dental metrics with ancient DNA in Arctic populations to identify the gene environment adaptation involving thicker enamel and robust molars, which is suitable for cold adapted diets. Moving on to the tools which we use for biomechanical assessment. So firstly, we have something called finite element analysis. So it is used to simulate the bite force, identifies the fracture prone areas which are seen in the teeth. So this validates the functional concept of evolutionary hypothesis, and it allows cross-species comparison also between primates and fossilized humans. So it is used it's usually used in the field of prosthodontics and implant stress modeling. High resolution models can be generated using micro-CT data. So there was one study which was very recently done. They integrated FDA into surgical planning for precise occlusion load mapping in fossil restoration. Secondly, another tool which we use is microwear and surface texture analysis. So it reflects the dietary hardness and toughness. So scratch fit ratios, it suggests us dominant food texture patterns. So it differentiates between the fallbacks and the staple diets which is seen throughout the population in various eras. And it also tracks seasonal and ecological changes in foraging. And SEM and conformal profilometry is also used to capture the surface details. There was this another study done by Ungar et al. In 2022 who used 3D microwear textures to reconstruct diet diversity in early Homo sapien model. Thirdly, another tool which we use is experimental chewing and real testing. So it is a mechatronic model which is used to simulate realistic mastication. So dental and enamel analogs can be generated and can be marked for the stress patterns. So the digital data is used to calibrate the digital models, and it replicates microwear patterns for archaeological interference. And biometric bite simulations can also be done and can be validated using FDA also. There was this study done by Craniofacial in 2021 which validated the simulated affliction pattern using jaws of cadavers in a robotic chewing apparatus. And then moving on to cross-species comparison and convergent evolution. We have comparative dental forms like carnivores, they have scissor-like high shear dentition which is seen in felines. And we have herbivores, they have flat ridge-lateral molars. Omnivores, so they compromise between incisal slicing and molar grinding. And human dentition, as you all know, it aligns more with that of omnivores. But cultural tools, it alters selective pressures. And then we have gorilla and orangutan. The comparison will highlight divergent molar mechanics. So there was a study done by Strain et al. In 2009. It compared the jaw mechanics across great apes and fossilized humans. Moving on to the convergence with non-hominid samples. So giant panda molars, because of its adaptation to bamboo, since they have bamboo as their prime before, they have a thick enamel and they have blunt cusp. Next we have aardvark dentition, that is tooth loss due to dietary specialization. And this highlights the functional analogous adaptation in disparate lineages. And there was a study conducted by Wood et al. In 2017. It explored convergent molar adaptation in insectivorous mammals and early hominids. So moving on to the recent advances and bioengineering applications seen recently. So we have additive manufacturing and simulation, which is CAD/CAM and 3D printed jaws for real-time masticatory analysis. Next we have advanced dental materials like hydroxyapatite-based smart coatings which simulate the enamel, and bioactive glass is also there for enamel remineralization and root repair. There is this research conducted by Yu et al. In 2022 who developed layered nanoceramic structures with biomechanical properties which was similar to the human enamel itself. And then we have integrative imaging and AI, as you know, micro CT and synchrotron imaging for internal tooth architecture. So they are AI models basically which classify the dental shape and it estimates the stress zones across the teeth. So deep learning is also used because it is integrated with AI. And AI aided reconstruction of worn fossil teeth is also, that study also can be done. And evolutionary inspired dentistry is also there, where a study conducted by Smith et al. He designed hybrid prostheses using Neanderthal and early Homo erectus blueprints. So to chew is to survive, to analyze chewing is to understand evolution. So emerging technologies in bioimaging, AI-based modeling, and regenerative biomaterials, they ensure the dental biomechanics will remain at the frontier of evolutionary science and restorative dentistry. Thank you.